जय आद्याशक्ति मा जय आद्याशक्ति अखंड ब्रह्मांड दीपाव्या अखंड ब्रह्मांड दीपाव्या पडवे प्रगट्या मा नृत्या बेय स्वरूप शिव शक्ति जानो ब्रह्मा गणपति गाए ब्रह्मा गणपति गाए हर मा
Vanakkam, Swagatam. A pleasure to be with all of you this evening. And we are celebrating the International Women's Day as a Women's Week. And of course, every day is special. And in our culture, we respect our women every day, every moment. But the Women's Day gives us an opportunity to express a bit more than usual our admiration for these dynamic Shaktis. Let us begin by invoking the Guru Parampara, and then I will introduce our wonderful panel who are with us today and take it up from there. Om Tat Paramparayaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruh Prachodayate Om Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Geetanandagiri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai Om Puduvai Kalaimamani Puduvai Shakti Yogacharya Ammaji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata Ki Jai Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. A warm welcome to each and every one of you, but especially to the 5 dynamic Yoga Shaktis who are with me today online to share their experiences, their lives of yoga. And it gives me such great pleasure to host this online Sangama. We know that we had the Kumbh Mela recently, the Triveni Sangama. Here it is Panchaveni Sangama because we have 5 dynamic Shaktis. Pancha Shakti Sangama, you could call it. And we have called it a Yoga Shakti Sangama because all of them are Yoga Shaktis. I would like to take this moment to express my personal admiration for each and every one of these 5 dynamic Shaktis. When I was sitting in a contemplative silence a few days ago in the morning, a thought came in my mind. Why not bring together a few of these dynamic Shaktis? And the number 5 is the number of transformation and change. Hence, the number 5 came into mind. And I'm so pleased to welcome to this evening's Sangamam my dear Fharzana Siraj from Chennai. She is the founder of Orange Way, the holistic healing center, and doing amazing work in the Iyengar yoga tradition. Namaste, Fharzana. A pleasure to have you here.
Namaste. Thank you, Dr. Anandaji, for having me here along with the other 4 Shaktis. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I would just take 10 seconds of your time to tell something about what I feel about you personally. You have the perfect balance between the East and the West where medicine is concerned. And I've seen you very closely, how you not only practice yoga on the mat. Recently, I've been seeing that a lot on Facebook. and but off the mat. And I've seen your shraddha towards your parents. I see how lovingly you look after Ammaji, and I feel every time I see those videos or pictures, I have goosebumps, and I feel that I envy you a little bit, because I feel that you are so lucky to be able to do this seva. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fharzana, for those kind words. And it is always wonderful when we can give back to those who have given us so much. I would like to also invite my dear Anandhi, Mary Cecil from all the way from Kolkata, who's joining us and who's again doing amazing work in the field of yoga and academics. And welcome to you, Anandhi.
Thank you so much, Pujya Guruji. So, I like to speak of myself as a yoga sadhaka of almost 30 years, having blessed to find my guru, Pujya Ananda Balayogi ji, in my journey, and recently being blessed with the spiritual name Anandhi by none other than Pujya Ammaji Meenakshi Devi. Thank you so much for having me. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Anandhi. Such a pleasure to have you with us. We are also honored to have with us a very dynamic yoga Shakti, and that is my dear Nrithya Jagannathan, again from Chennai, and who is currently director at the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. And it's not only a yoga Shakti, but a Natya Shakti, because both her name has Nrithya, and she's also a dancer. So welcome, Nrithya. A pleasure to have you with us.
Namaskaram, Anandaji. Thank you so much for having me on this panel along with all the others. It's always a pleasure. Anything that we do together is always a very mangalam. It's a very auspicious coming together. If I were to speak of myself, I would say I am a rasika. Over and above everything, I'm a rasika of all things beautiful. And what I hold very dear is the timeless principle of Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, which is fundamental to the Indian Samskriti, to Bharatiya Samskriti. And with every step that I take in this journey, as a dancer, moving on to being a choreographer, a teacher, and then as my journey continued, taking me deeper into the world of yoga, I was dancing outside for performance, for others to see. But my yoga journey has taken me to dance within. And through all of this, I think that I hold very dear, very precious, all the treasures that our Samskriti has to offer us. And I'm very blessed to have had great teachers, teacher like Sri Desikachar, who instills in me the Shraddha, who has shown so many of us the path, and I'm grateful to represent this very ancient tradition of yoga represented by the Krishnamacharya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nrithya ji. What a beautiful introduction. And yes, we are blessed to be, recipients of the love of our gurus. And then we have the responsibility to share that love with our students. We have with us a world champion in Yogasana. And as you know, nowadays Yogasana is becoming very popular. But long before it got the recent recognition and limelight, an amazing Yoga Shakti who has created waves across the world is my dear Pallavi Kavhane, and welcoming her all the way from Pune, Maharashtra. Namaste, Pallavi ji.
Namaste. Thank you very much. I'm really blessed that you involve me in this Shakti and in this panel. So thanks a lot. And I'm very blessed that all this Guru is giving me guidance every day and I'm learning every day. So thanks a lot. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Pallavi ji. And when I thought about this idea, I said, well, we will focus on dynamic, amazing women of yoga. And then I said, let it be Indian. And then I said, there are also amazing Indian yoga Shaktis who have taken it to other countries across the ocean. And yes, we are totally blessed and happy to have with us my dear Shailaja Menon, all the way from Malaysia, where she has founded the Mat and Beyond Yoga. And thanks to COVID, we say COVID brought a lot of bad things, but COVID also got a lot of good things. And Shailaja came into my life through the online sessions we were doing, and we continue to take it forward. Welcome, Shailaja. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Anandaji, and very honored to be part of this gathering and part of this esteemed panel. And yes, you took the lines from me, Dr. Ananda, about COVID. I was just going to say that I came across Dr. Ananda during the COVID. And the thing that struck me about Dr. Ananda is, we all talk philosophy, but he actually lives it through the many things that he does, including those wonderful online sessions, the Scintillating Saturday, and so many others that I've lost count of that he was doing during the COVID, which was like the light, when there was so much darkness around. Those sessions were the light that lit many people's lives, including mine. And I'm, huge fan of Dr. Ananda from that time. And I'm very grateful to have these opportunities to be with him and to, be part of this panel. Namaste.
So we have got a few words from each one of our dynamic Shaktis. And I'm going to go right into the first line of questioning, which is, first of all, about the theme of this year's International Women's Day, which is for all women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. And the moment I read that, I'm like, isn't that what yoga is all about? It enhances all those aspects, the rights, the equality, and the empowerment. And every one of these 5 amazing Shaktis is an embodiment of this. So I would like to start off with Fharzana and go around to all 5 of you with a simple question that maybe you can spend a few minutes on. How has yoga impacted your life in view of this theme?
So, keeping this theme in mind and otherwise also generally, yoga first opened my heart and it opened my mind. And I realize now that a lot of things I was missing before yoga. But I must also say here that I have been practicing yoga since I was 13 years old. That's because I was using it that time as a fitness tool, because we didn't have gyms those days, and somebody had given me a Hindi book of yoga, and I could read Hindi very well. So it was like a self-study, and I would look at the poses and I would practice them. And then I would see myself in the mirror and I would think, wow, I can do chakrasana, I can do everything. I used to feel very proud about it. But that was the only asana part of yoga. But as I grew up, I actually saw the other Ashtanga, the other 6 steps of yoga. I came close to that and I realized that, what I had been missing. And somehow it gave me the self-confidence that despite coming from a different background, religious, cultural, language, whatever you can say, it somehow gave me that confidence that I can be a torchbearer where yoga is concerned. So that's why I'm saying that it opened my heart and my mind as well.
Thank you so much, Fharzana, for that sharing. And yes, if yoga doesn't open our heart, is it yoga? Is something I often ask myself, because, that heart where we connect to the cosmos itself. As Maharishi Patanjali tells us, Hridaye Chitta Sambit. And I think that is so vital in that and beautifully put by you. Going over to Pallavi, you have been in Yogasana from a very young age. You have been part of the sports fraternity. You continue to serve in a college of physical education and create champions every day. How has yoga impacted your life?
Yes, namaste. From childhood, I have been deeply involved in sports, starting with rope mulkham and swimming. But over time, I transitioned into Yogasana as a sports. So where I dedicated myself wholeheartedly and went on to win like numerous awards. This journey eventually led me to yoga education, where I immersed myself in the deeper aspect of yoga beyond competition. So today I am committed to serving, learning the field of yoga in every possible way, spreading its wisdom and benefit across different sector and communities. So yoga is not just practice for me; it's my guiding light and my life mission, and it has given me the strength to push the limits, my limits, and clarity to make the right choices, and the calmness in handling life's ups and downs. So it's journey of self discovery, breaking barriers and unlocking my highly potential. So I breathe deeply, move mindfully, and live with purpose. Because when I practice yoga, we don't just transform ourselves, we inspire the world around us. So, this is the main thing which I learn and I practice every day. So, whatever yoga gives me in my life, it's I can't, measure it. So, thank you, sir. So, this is my answer now, as if it is now.
Beautiful. I just love the way you talked about your breath, the mindfulness, and how you bring it into every moment of life. Isn't that what
Yeah.
yoga is to be? So, so beautiful. Going over to Nrithya ji, some of your thoughts, because you have grown up in the yoga ecosystem, especially under the guidance of one of the most eminent yogis of the past century, Sir Deshikachar. And how has this come into your life and got you where you are today?
I think every step that I've taken in my life from the time I was a child has been guided by something beyond me. Started off my journey as a dancer when I was 6. What I learned from my Natyacharya, Srimati Krishnakumari Narendran, opened out an entire universe. It was she who gave me an anchoring in bhakti, who taught me how to use my body, how to connect body and mind, how to emote. And I would say that in many ways, all that I am today has been shaped by her. It was her who instilled in me a love for research, a love to understand the sahitya of any text, her rigor, her discipline, the commitment that she brought to her work and to her art is what shaped me. I was very lucky. I grew up in the Krishnamurti Foundation. I was a student at the school KFI. Subsequently, I moved to the Vidyamandir, both very well-known schools that offered a lot to shape me. Throughout my life, every step has been guided by serendipity, you could say. When I was doing my masters, I had a blessing of working in the Aurobindo Society as a research associate for their project on dance. And I was under the supervision of a remarkable human being, Vijay Bhai. I think Anandaji must be aware of someone who's touched my life in so many ways. I worked under him for many years as a research associate. And then it just so happened that I answered an ad just like that for the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. They were looking for editors. I have a background in communication. I did my master's in communications. I simply answered the ad. It was at my mother's urge because I was not even within that age bracket. The KYM had asked for someone who was 28 and older. I was 21. I answered the ad, and that's the story of where I am today. It's been 24 years since I have been here. And I have been blessed in many ways to have studied under Sir Shri Desikachar. Krishnamacharya's belief, very emphatic belief, he would say, Adhikaru Visheshena Strinam Kumbhyo Nigadyate. When it came to the practice of yoga, he would say women definitely needed yoga as an anchor. He was emphatic. And he said, this, you are Vishesha Adhikari. And that is the spirit of the environment that shaped me. And as we speak today about rights, about equality, about empowerment, sadly, in many domains, all of this remains on paper. We are yet to see it manifest in homes or in workspaces. And I believe that I think it is the duty of every one of us as practitioners of yoga, as healers, as those committed to the larger dharma, the vision of Bharatiya Samskriti, to use what we have, the tools that we have in yoga, to commit to creating safe spaces for women, for children, for all those who seek help, because it is there that empowerment lies. And if there is this top-down approach of sympathy and feeling pity, I think there is a problem there. If we need to learn to open our hearts, because this is what Sir's message was. He said yoga is connection. And in creating those connections with every care seeker who crosses our way, if we can make a difference, if we can create a safe space for people to speak and to be heard without judgment, then I think truly we are working in the spirit of empowerment, equality, and rights.
Wonderful. I just love that concept of safe space, because I believe that it is the dharma of all of us in the field of yoga to create safe spaces for every human being, irrespective of gender, irrespective of religion, irrespective of nationality. A safe and welcoming space is a healing space. Thank you for putting that out, Nrithya. Such an important point that we all need to take forward. And I think this is where I go all the way from Chennai to Kolkata and invite Anandhi to give us some of her ideas on how this impact has happened in her life.
So, Guruji and everyone else, as I already said, I'm a practitioner of yoga sadhana for almost 30 years. And, I did not find yoga, yoga found me. And, if I have to say one word, how yoga impacted my life, I would say it is transformation. Transformation definitely, at the physical level, where you've become fitter, you've lost weight, your health issues have, become better, you've become stronger, you've become more peaceful, you've become calm, you've learned to handle stress. But more than that, the areas where I find the transformation has happened in me, number one is the way I think. Number two is the way I feel. And number three is the way I experience life. So yoga is definitely, has been a very important transformative tool in my life. And not only has it impacted me, that is how, I feel I want to inspire people around me.
That is just an amazing statement there. It is not just we getting inspired and transformed, but taking it to the others. And that is where, again, I go back to my favorite quote, caring is sharing, sharing is caring. And I think that is what you are living so beautifully. Thank you, Anandhi, for that. And we go across the waters and we swim across to Malaysia and we listen to Shailaja.
Yeah, so I just want to touch on the theme, which is the rights, equality, and empowerment. I think it is so very important in these times, and I think in all times. And I agree with what Nrithya was just saying. I think a lot needs to go into empowering women, and I think there's a lot that needs to go into, giving people their rights, giving women their rights. These are just words. It really hasn't trickled down into, even every family will have a story. I meet up with friends. There's so much of inequality and injustice against women. And, just 1 year, one theme, I don't think is going to do it. I think this really needs to be worked on. And, like how you are championing women, I think men need to get into the fray as well. And, they have to come about and bring about some transformation as well. Support women in this, because it's not going to happen only one way. Women just fighting about it is not going to happen. The men have to step in as well and support women in this. So going into how yoga has, affected my life, I truly believe yoga is a calling. Yoga is my destiny. I grew up in a very non-yogic family. Nobody really did yoga. But it is something I sought from a very early age. I had a lot of mental stress in my life growing up. And instinctively, from my heart, I always sought the answers through a yoga practice. So we had a very good center in Coimbatore, Swami Sachidananda's Integral Yoga. And that was my first taste of yoga. I went into meditation classes when I was in college. And then I went into asana practice later on. And from my very first class, right? It was like a light had been switched on, and I experienced a way of being, a wellness that I have never experienced before in my life. And at that point, from that moment, I knew that yoga was always going to be a part of my life, because once you have tasted a better way to be, though the demons and all of that is still in the mind, dragging you down, but you have tasted that, and you know the path to that, to the wellness, and you're not going to let go of that. So that was my whole journey into yoga. It was really very personal. It was to help me to manage my stress, which is how my whole focus, whether it is teaching yoga, whether it is writing books, the focus is always about learning to manage stress, learning to manage our own mind, our own emotional responses. And that has really been the anchor of my life. And I have experienced so much wellness out of it that I have sought to share it, at every occasion, writing books, being an author, speaking about it at every platform that I get. And my whole purpose is to really encourage as many people as possible to take up the yoga practice, because it is so empowering. Oh, even for not just for women, but for all human beings. And yoga has become my lens, right? I view life, I live my life through the yogic lens, through the yogic perspective, through the tools of ahimsa, satya, asteya, through saucha, santosha, tapas, swadhyaya, ishvara pranidhana. When there are walls that I cannot break through, then I just apply ishvara pranidhana and just surrender. So yoga has truly been the lens through which my life has been shaped. And Shraddha again is something I hold very close, because I realize once I lose the faith, right, that's when you go down that slippery slope of anxiety, depression, worry. As long as you have faith in that universal plan for you, then you're good. So it really is the lens through which I live my life.
Wow. Shraddha. Patanjali Maharishi was so right. He said that is the most important starting point for all our sadhakas. That Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvaka, Itaresham. Because if you don't have Shraddha, as you said, I love that phrase, the slippery slope that, is going to drag you down. Really wonderful. I would like to go around again, a second round of question. And I'm going to combine two questions here into one, because they are a bit similar and you've all touched on it earlier. What are the benefits that yoga as a way of life, as a practice, as a philosophy can give women? And also, what are the obstacles women face when taking up yoga? I think if you can combine your answers for both these questions, we'll get the pros and cons. And maybe I'll start off with Anandhi this time.
So, I want to start by saying that as a woman, I feel blessed to be on the path of yoga. I do not believe in this men versus woman scenario that is there today. I feel that men have been designed by the universe for a certain set, a set of roles and responsibilities. And women, on the other hand, have been, created with a certain set of rules and responsibilities. Shiva is incomplete without Shakti, and Shakti has no role to play without Shiva. Now, having said that, long ago when I started my yoga journey, like most of us, I started with asana practice. And very soon I was deeply interested to understand the philosophy of what is behind the practice. And being from Calcutta, definitely, I'm taking names, but no offense. The first step was I wanted to study Vedanta, took me to Ramakrishna Mission. I came across very beautiful, Maharajas who taught me Vedic chanting and a lot of other things. But very soon I realized that women were really not welcome to study Vedanta there. Interestingly, my life took me to Rishikesh, as most of you know. And definitely the Forest Academy was the next best place which came to my mind, the Shivananda ashram. I personally visited that ashram, and I have been visiting that ashram on every trip of mine to Rishikesh. And every time I'm told that, we are sorry, there are no courses which are being offered to women. Nonetheless, universe had, other plans for me. the knowledge kept coming from different gurus. And finally, of course, I found my anchor in you. Two very important things, which as a woman, I feel one is empowerment. Empowerment not only, in the form of strength, in the form of balance, in the form of resilience, uh, you know, uh, more importantly, it is acceptance. Acceptance, of the societal conditioning, the patriarchal norms, and yet the liberation to live life on my own terms. That is what, yoga has given me. Now, as human women, we are blessed with intuition. We are blessed with the capacity to understand cyclical patterns. As you are aware, and some of my students who are there are also aware, I was at the Mahakumbh recently, and, the media spoke of all the bad things about that place. But I strongly feel that in that cosmic chaos, there is a cyclical pattern. And that pattern is what, as women, we naturally tune into because, right from puberty, we are handling menstrual cycles, we are handling hormonal cycles. So for me, being a woman is a blessing in the path of yoga.
That is really, really beautiful insight. And as you said, the intuitive capacity is definitely very much a part of the feminine qualities. And I think that the beauty of intuition is something that often when we want to put things in boxes, which is a typical stereotyped male tendency is to box everything. Sorry to stereotype it, but yes, we are not able to understand intuition. And I think that is just such a beautiful quality that we can all learn from each other and make lives much more worthwhile. Thank you for that sharing, Anandhi. Going over to Nrithya ji for some of your inputs on this topic.
When it comes to challenges that women face, I think for the longest time, multiple challenges. On one side is the menstrual cycle itself, from puberty, from the onset of menarche, through early adolescence, where young girls are still coming to terms with body image, with how they appear, changing bodies, changing needs, changing emotions, moving on to early adulthood, moving into relationships of different kinds, possibly marriage or a partnership as the case may be, and then children, pregnancy, sometimes with abortions, miscarriages, sometimes very difficult pregnancies, losing a baby, and moving on throughout until perimenopause, menopause, and then later. I think this is on the one track. Equally on the other side is, I would say, some amount of conditioning also that has been imposed by society, by the collective, sometimes self-imposed as well, in terms of roles, responsibilities, duties that we hold ourselves up to. It is not for nothing that the woman has been called Grihini, the one who holds not just the house, but the collective, the society as well. And the Grihini is the heart of the Grihastha's home. And therefore, multiple challenges. But this is on the one side. Fact remains that in society, we see so many women from children, great victims of abuse, young girls. While I know that there are statistics of young children, boys and girls both being abused, the statistics are far higher for women, girl children. And so from them, there are different kinds of trauma, different kinds of invasion, different ways of having to defend a space. And increasingly what happens, whether it is the corporate world, whether it is home, a lack of someone to hear, someone to listen with a need to understand, a lack of empathy for someone who's working a difficult job and having to manage a child. It's one thing for the boss to say, oh, maybe you shouldn't take up so much responsibility. This is too much. Maybe you should think of taking a sabbatical. But where empathy comes is to say, I understand that you have a child to take care of. Can we hold this meeting after you feed your child? Now, that is where women need support. And if not just men, women have to support women. And I think that these are challenges. Sometimes it's women who pull down other women. And I think this is a problem. because I don't know what we are trying to compete with. Now, when I'm speaking from the experience of the Keva, and we see women of all ages, of all abilities, going through a lot of very difficult challenges. And that is where yoga can come in. Today, we see that postpartum depression is real. Depression post-menopause, real. Body image issues, very real. Depression is very high. Stress, anxiety, depression among women population, younger and younger populations is very high. And so I think it is very important that we truly harness the benefits of yoga. I think there is a fixation of yoga on the mat. Asana is an important component. Krishnamacharya gives us so much insight about how asana can be used for women's health and well-being. But we cannot lose sight of the fact that yoga is a holistic science. And we are looking at body, we are looking at breath, we are looking at the self-regulation of senses, we are looking at mind, we are looking at cognitive ability, we are looking at emotionality, we are looking at spiritual anchors. In all these domains, yoga, provided competently administered, can give tremendous benefits. So there are physiological benefits in terms of moving to salutogenesis, moving to homeostasis, moving to holistic wellness. So sukha, saumanasya, angasthiryam, dirgha sukshma prana become great gifts that yoga has to offer us. Where women thrive, yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devataha, because this is where there is so much power. It is the women who are the transmitters of tradition. And tradition is important. To be rooted in tradition with an eye to the future is very important, and that is the role that women play in the society. And therefore, we must not forget the spiritual anchoring that yoga gives, the capacity to withstand, to cope with situations that are otherwise unalterable. And therefore, again, I circle back to the role of yoga teachers, of yoga therapists, of holding such safe spaces for everyone, no doubt, but specifically for women in this context, because this is the Yoga Shakti Sangamam.
Wow. That was a Shakti-filled exposition. And, a couple of minutes and what you have given is food for thought for many years, for I think many years. So for many years. And I love that aspect of rooted in tradition, but with an eye on the future. I think this is essential at this point of time, that all of us in yoga, male, female, whatever, binary, non-binary, I'm not going to get into that. Anybody who's in yoga, I think it is essential that we do not forget the tradition, but also remember that we have to make the tradition contemporary and help people understand it in contemporary perspective, the contemporary lens. This is where I was so happy when you said salutogenesis. And I even saw Nilachal's face light up with a smile, because all of us, whenever somebody says salutogenesis, we get very happy. Thank you for that, Nrithya ji. Going over to Fharzana, you have worked a lot with a lot of people, and I'm sure your insights would be much welcome now.
Thank you. Personally, as a woman, I have been blessed that I have not faced any difficulty. But as we all notice, we've only seen yoga gurus generally who are male, like how chefs who are male, but the actual cooking the woman does. So in yoga also, a woman is the janani. The woman is also the sustainer, that is the dhatri, and also the samharini. It's like embodying, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva all together. And if you see the different aspects of all the goddesses, we have different aspects. We see woman as the nurturer, the woman as the caregiver, the woman as the birther, of course, and the vinashkari. When something goes wrong, she does not hesitate to destroy. So with having so many diverse roles and aspects in womanhood, it is but natural that yoga and women cannot be separated. And each year or so many years, I personally feel different layers of me has come out during the practice of yoga. I would say initially I used to be aggressively confident. Now I'm peacefully confident. So I think a lot of learning and more important, a lot of unlearning has to happen in yoga. So it's not always about we need to shed some old stuff which we are carrying. Women in India, especially, we have a lot of generational trauma. I want to talk about that. So grandmothers, mothers, we've seen them suffer quietly at the hands of males, at the hands of women, what Nrithya ji said, especially. But a point comes when you do yoga, this healing starts within you. Of course, there is no time. We cannot ascertain how much time it will take. But the process of yoga starts the healing process within you. And most importantly, it makes you feel that you have the tool now to heal yourself. You don't need outside help. That is what yoga did to me. I felt extremely empowered with yoga. I no longer needed advice, suggestions, treatments. I knew I could do it on myself. It could be a Purva Janma Vasana, whatever you call it, but that's what yoga showed to me. So yoga is that light which, shines on yourself to show you where you have to work, what you have to do, what you have to undo. And that's what I think yoga is all about, especially for women.
What you have to do and what you have to undo. I think that is beautiful. And also the fact that you addressed a transgenerational trauma, which is often something that we don't really think about at all. And I loved your concept of moving from aggressively confident to peacefully confident. We had a discussion yesterday in my Yantra course on aggression actually coming from the root to move forward. But because in order to move forward, you have to move things out of the way, people have given it a negative connotation. But you actually made a beautiful, and I think Subbu Bhaiya pointed out it's moving from Rajas to Sattva,
Yes.
which is another beautiful way. And I would like to acknowledge the presence of Subbu Bhaiya, who again is always supporting the women of our nation and especially all our Yoga Shaktis. He is having a Yoga Shakti Sangamam on 5th of April in Bangalore, and they are going to honor 27 Yoga Shaktis with the Yoga Lakshmi Puraskara, which they do. So would like to acknowledge Subbu Bhaiya at this time. At the end, we may ask you to say a few words if we get some time, because, today is the Shakti Day. In fact, today is a very auspicious day because in the north, we are celebrating Holi, in the south, Masimagam, and a very important, what is called Satyavan Savitri or Karadayan Nombu in this part of the world. So very beautiful day for this discussion to happen. I only thought of it as Friday, which is special to Devi. That was my, basically, the goal behind it. Going over to Pallavi, in Yogasana sport, how this aspect you have perceived, if you can share with us, it would be wonderful.
Yogasana as a sports, actually, last 15 to 20 years, I'm participating all the competitions. But it changed my life very well in a very good manner, step by step. Yoga always teaches us step by step. Don't jump, right? So step by steps, I learned a lot. But yoga as a sports, it's a one part, and the yoga as a life when I take it. So that is mainly is teaches me that yoga is not 1 or 2 hour practice. It is a 24-hour practice. Every second, every minute, every hour, how you behave or how you take each and every steps in your life. So that mainly I learned from yoga. And there are many challenges also as a woman. And like physical challenges are there, strength versus flexibility, social challenges, family responsibilities, lack of support, and emotional challenges, self doubt. So all these challenges when I face, but through yoga practice, Satu Dirghakala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Drudabhumi. So this aphorism is really touched to my heart. And the Olympic player, I always read more about the Olympic player, their history, there's autobiography. So one player, always I remember his words that every day, this word, he made a locket and he put it here. So everyday practice is very important, and that I am doing now. So that changes my life totally 360-degree angle. So as a sportsman, I was very, very aggressive, as you said. But now I'm really very calm, quiet, and each and every decision, each and every steps, whatever I'm taking in my life, I always know dvandva in my life, because whatever asana I'm practicing and the result of the asana is the same, I think so, the tato dvandva na bigataha. So that I'm feeling very practically, because everyday practice is made me this focus, concentration. And as a sports for the children, there are a lot of career opportunities. They're becoming very focused, disciplined, physical and mental. They are becoming very strong through this yogasana sports. And for the encouraging of the youth, this yogasana is very good as a sports. Like we have a many events in that: traditional asana, artistic pair, rhythmic pair. So with classical music, it's really fun when you do. But apart from that, many things are there. But there are this game is a subjective game, so judgment based performance is there. So this is the lacking thing is there, little bit risk is there, because as a sportsman, you give your full life for the sports. 10 hours we are practicing. And if the judgment is subjective, then there something like, the evaluation, and which may lead to bias. So that I feel a bit for the upcoming sportsman. But my guru or my coaches always teaches me that you make your performance so perfect that if somebody wants to cheat also, they will feel guilt. So that way I'm practicing. I'm never look about what judgment is there, but I practice, and it is very much improved my life, my lifestyle. So 24 hours and everyday practice is my lifestyle now. So thank you.
Thank you so
So
much, Pallavi ji, for that. I think I totally agree with you that the subjective nature of the evaluation leads to a lot of partiality and heartburn. And that is why many people don't want yoga asana to be a sport. And I understand the pros and cons on all sides, which is why I am involved in it and trying to keep the yoga in it. But I think definitely moving towards an objective evaluation. And again, as you said, for the young people, it is important that that self-esteem, a feel of being worth, is brought out through the practice of yogasana. And I think especially for the young people, as you rightly pointed, this is a godsend, because you don't need all this costly equipment that comes with all other sports. Cricket is a religion in our country, and we all believe in it. But the problem is, if you want to be a cricketer, you better find someone to sponsor your kit, otherwise you will not have a kit at all. Whereas in the yogasana, right at grassroots, we can go. So I very much appreciate that concern that you brought, and I hope that people who are in charge of these competitions will always remember that we are not here for ourselves, we are here to serve the cause of yoga itself. Going over to Anandhi, a few inputs on how you have perceived this. You do amazing work with students through your SPANDA program in Kolkata. And how does this impact, and what are the trials and tribulations people go through?
Guruji, I also want to add that I'm a master trainer with the Indian Knowledge Systems, Ministry of Education, trained by UGC. So, when we talk of this women versus men, dichotomy that, the Western world, in my opinion, has brought in, when we look at the pre-Vedic era, we see the worship of the mother goddess very predominant. When we look at the Saraswati Valley civilization, when we look at the very infamous, the Harappa statue that is there, which was initially believed by historians to be that of Pashupati, but modern historians are pointing that it may be the mother goddess because that civilization was a matriarchal civilization. The way the tombs, the graveyards were designed had women at the center. So definitely a lot of importance was given to the feminine energy. Now, I feel that I am blessed because, I was born and brought up in the eastern part of India, in Calcutta, where I really never experienced this male versus women, female issue. Having found its, foundations in tantric sciences, even today we worship Mother Durga, Goddess Durga. This is the place of Shakti, Ma Kali. And of course, my husband has also joined me, which is a blessing. I had an amazing family where I never felt this, I was always given that preference that, okay, she's a woman, she needs special care. So I never, that was a blessing. Now, coming back, if you look at the Vedic era also, we find Rishikas, names of Rishikas, Rishi Putris, Rishi Patnis, who have contributed mantras in our Vedic scriptures right from the Rig Veda. We have the 64 Yogini temples where again Shakti is being worshipped. Far in the east, we have the Kamakhya where, women, the feminine energy is worshipped. And if you look at the Vedantic point of view, Shiva is never complete, as I always said, without Shakti. Even when we worship the Shivling creation, the Linga is worshipped with the Yoni. So this dichotomy was never there in our Indian culture. We always worship men and women equally. Maybe we gave more preference to the feminine energy, considering that it's the more subtle energy, and the Purusha is incomplete without the Prakriti. Because how does Purusha experience the world if there is no Prakriti? So having said that, I have a lot of my students who have joined in. I have some of my colleagues who have also joined in from my institute. So yes, I find I get a lot of support when I wanted to start, yoga teaching. Maybe it was during COVID. 2019 is when I, started the yoga department. It was very new. Nobody knew about in this part of the country that yoga could also be taught academically. But I got a support, even though, I am not, getting the benefit of a political or, I work under a West Bengal government university where they supported me. They accepted the entire syllabus. So I started offering undergraduate, postgraduate programs. And then, of course, my seniors, some of who have joined me, supported me when I said, this is a knowledge, this is something which is very Indian and which has to be given to, all these students, PAN departments. So that is how SPANDA got created. SPANDA, in fact, was a name, which it just fell into me one day early morning during, my practice, my sadhana, when I was maybe in a little bit of a, slightly meditative state, where I felt that, yes, this is something which has benefited me tremendously and I need to share it. And of course, my students are all there to, tell you that what amazing work they are doing for me. I'm just a catalyst. And of course, the learnings that I get from you and from Pujya Ammaji helps me walk ahead in my path.
So wonderful to hear your perspective, and I completely agree that our ancient culture definitely was what a beautiful balance. And then along the way, just like science and spirituality got separated, the concept of the male and female energies got separated, and we have all the dichotomy that we have. So thank you for expressing that. And I am so happy that, someone like you is part of the UGC trained IKS master trainers, because this is what our young people in our country need to rediscover, that we have this beautiful culture. Let us rediscover that culture and share it with authenticity, with integrity. So thank you for that beautiful sharing and for the amazing work you are doing. Going over to Shailaja and some of her inputs, because she works with young kids. When I look at the work she does, you find these young kids doing amazing asanas, and then you find these much older people, especially more elderly women, also doing amazing work with her. So how do you bring that about in your work, Shailaja?
Yeah, because I truly believe that yoga is for all, right? We always say that while we have 8 limbs of yoga, right, the most dominant limb has been asana, and asana has really taken over, it's become synonymous with yoga these days. But if you take the holistic perspective of yoga, yoga has so many other aspects of it. And I think it was Krishnamacharya who said that as long as, you can breathe, you can do yoga. So I truly believe, from the core of my being, that yoga is accessible for everybody, regardless of age and regardless of gender. And because of that, I have a kids class, so naturally kids are learning. And I was also very influenced by my uncle, who's around 88 years old now, and I just met him even a week ago. And what we both enjoy most is doing a yoga session together. So, and I see how much benefit it gives him, how much relief from aches and pains, and, the mental well-being that he feels, the settled, the grounded, settled feeling that he experiences. So I am very convinced even now that yoga is good for anybody and everybody, regardless of age, regardless of gender. And it can only make whatever life that you're living, it can only make it better. And all of this, goes on to continue to convince me that that's why everybody should do yoga.
Thank you. Thank you for that sharing, Shailaja. And, it is always wonderful when people in the same family can get together and do yoga together, because what we find here with our work with families is the family becomes stronger in so many ways when yoga becomes a commonality in the family. Doesn't happen all the time, but it's nice when it happens. We are starting to run short of time, and I have a few rapid fire to ask all of you that you don't even know I'm going to ask you those questions, but we'll come to that. But before that, a little more detailed question, which is about yoga as the original mind-body medicine. And today, we know that the therapeutic aspect of yoga is becoming very necessary because we have so many health challenges. So I would like to know how you are approaching in your own work this application of yoga as a therapeutic modality, especially for the mind-body connection. And I'll start off with Fharzana because she's doing some amazing work. And I personally know of some people who swear by her because they have got so much benefit from her.
Thank you, Dr. Anandaji. So I have been blessed to have learned yoga from Guruji Iyengar. And my first experience was a self-experience because I was suffering from low back pain and I was knocking all possible doors of Western medicine to find out a cure for myself, if not cure, at least a good management tool. But I was really suffering. I was constantly in pain. And destiny opened this wonderful door for me. And that's why I feel that, it was, if I hadn't gotten back pain, I would have missed this whole, this blessing. So I think whatever happens is for a reason. And that's when I actually saw Guruji, treat me effortlessly, and his confidence when I spoke to him that what I was having and I was suffering, it was almost at that moment I felt that he kind of, just dismissed me, literally, But to a lay person like me, I felt it was initially a dismissal, but now I can understand he was so confident of his art and craft that he just felt that This is nothing. Okay, okay, tell me more, kind of thing. And when I started learning with him, I knew then, of course, I got better in a few days, but I knew that I'm going to get completely better. But this opened an entire new horizon for me. That what is it, this gentleman who is, coming from a village, who is so old, who's not so formally educated in healing or any kind of, medical science, and he's doing this thing which nobody else has done. And this gap between the cup and the lip, which really intrigued me. And I believe that it has been a series of blessings from then on, because Guruji should have technically told me to buzz off, but he didn't. He taught me, and that is, my good luck, and as I said, my blessing. And and I got so interested that I thought, okay, I must now follow up this learning, what I was doing, side by side with a formal education in yoga. And that's when I went to do my master's and my PhD, and so on and so forth. So I feel that the balance between adequate medical knowledge along with traditional wisdom, as that of yoga, and adequate self-practice, because only when you practice, you know exactly how to do, what to do, when to do, how much to do. So this balance has really helped me in treating patients with chronic pain. It could be musculoskeletal pain. It could be any inflammatory condition. It could be any other non-communicable disease. It could be a psychosomatic disease. It could be anything. We get patients of all kinds. And when I started treating people, that's when I started realizing that I know less. So only when you learn, you know that you know less. Otherwise, you think you know everything. So that's when I started going out again, and I learned more sciences, because the idea was to help the patient. I did not want the ego of a practitioner that, okay, whatever I'm doing, I know best. I didn't want that, because that is a very lethal, very, very lethal and a very subtle trap which most of the people fall in. I didn't want that. So I wanted to get more knowledge, and I went and did acupuncture. I did my MD in acupuncture. I became a nutrition coach. And that's when I realized that when I combine the practice of yoga along with the right diet, just sattvic is not enough. We need to actually see the nutritional aspect, how the food is not processed, because today everything is so processed and so ready-made that just having a vegetarian diet or just a vegan diet is not really enough. And to address acute pain, acupuncture, which is a Chinese form of medicine, proved very useful, because now I did not need to send my patients to medical practitioners for giving them, painkillers when they came with acute pain. So I felt that I now had the formula for giving them an end-to-end solution and like being that one-stop shop.
That's just so beautiful. And I think, if you look at the origin of acupressure, acupuncture, it's all Eastern. So definitely they have a compatibility, a quotient for sure. And again, being non-pharmacological, the negative impacts of drugs can be reduced, and all pain medication ultimately leads to addiction. The biggest problem of the opioid crisis is because of pain, people get onto opioids and then cannot get off because they are addicted. So any non-pharmacological management is definitely welcome, and I think you're on an amazing track there. Going over to Nrithya ji, how would this be addressed in the Krishnamacharya tradition? Because, one of the pioneers of Yoga Chikitsa is the Krishnamacharya tradition, and I would love to hear a bit of this from you.
The Yoga Chikitsa approach in the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram is rooted in the Yoga Sutra. Fundamentally, I would say that we use two models. One is Vedantic and the other is Yoga Sutra. From the Taittiriya Upanishad, the Panchamaya model, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So this is on one side. Parallelly is an understanding of the interplay of the trigunas, of the role that Sattva, Rajas and Tamas play, how they intersect with the Tridosha Siddhanta, and therefore the implications at physical, physiological, cognitive, emotional, spiritual dimension. From the Yoga Sutra, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. Anagatam Dukkham Heyam. What is to come has to be avoided. What has come can only be endured. One can develop the strength, one can develop a capacity to accept first and then to withstand whatever has come, but it is possible to be preemptive in terms of what is going to come. And so this is fundamental in terms of defining what yoga can and cannot offer. Sir was very clear about this because there are too many factors that contribute to a state of health or illness. What yoga can do is very clear in certain areas. See, for instance, if we take a condition like arthritis, arthritis is the progressive degeneration of the joints. Now, reversal is not possible. But what we can do is prevent further degeneration. We can improve mobility. We can strengthen the muscles above and below the joint. In most cases, we are able to delay or prevent surgery unless the situation is very far advanced. But typically, if we look at a case like, say, uterine prolapse or hernia, then it's very evident that there is not much yoga can do, especially in advanced stages. And Sir would always tell us, assess this. Heyam Dukkham, what is to be avoided? First of all, can yoga address it? There are diseases that are susadhyam, asadhyam, yapyam. They can be managed. Many diseases can be managed. So first identify the heyam. What is the symptom that is presenting? How much of this can be anticipated and avoided? Then we have to trace to the hetu. The hetu in the Yoga Sutra, of course, we are looking at it philosophically. I am extrapolating it to the application of yoga as chikitsa. Heyam, the symptom can manifest in any of the Panchamaya. The hetu can also lie in any of the Panchamaya. So a physical or a physiological manifestation need not have a physical cause. It can come from an Anandamaya cause. From deep within, it can surface. So from within, so psychosomatization and reverse also from the body into the mind. So we need to be very cognizant of this. Based on this, we set the Hanam. What is the short-term goal? What is immediately feasible? What are intermediary or process goals? What are long-term goals for that practitioner? And then we arrive at the solutions. What kind of upaya? Ayam, hetu, Hanam. What is the means? Now we have a variety. We have diverse tools available to us. Asana. In the Kavhane, when it comes to yoga chikitsa, we are not working with classical form because Krishnamacharya was very emphatic that while form is important, no doubt, when it comes to application, we need to factor in individual uniqueness of constitution. We need to look at kala, desha, vayaha, age, vritti, occupation, shakti, the capacity, icha, the desire, and the dharma, what role they play. All of this has to be factored. And then we arrive at an appropriate tool. Function becomes more important. And so if a full Uttanasana is not feasible, how can I enable that Uttanasana so that that function is achieved? Asana, pranayama, nyasam, mantra, mudra, bhavana, various forms of japa. These are conventional. But then there are other unconventional on the sides of this, the upaya, ahara, vihara, achara, vichara, what we can support. But then even further, you draw a larger circle. How can we facilitate a space of healing? Is there a support system in their home or workspace? How can I facilitate a window? Because for many people who come to us, we are looking at very, very intricately entwined comorbidities. It is never one condition. Today we have hypertension plus diabetes plus acidity plus stress plus IBS, everything. It's plus, plus, plus. And therefore, what can I do? Because people are undergoing a lot of stress. Can we give a small pause? Can we give a window of calmness, of relief? Then, typically, we use the breath a lot. We use bhavana. Can we widen that space? You put a wedge, reduce reaction time, enable a capacity for calm, collected response to a situation, and little by little open out that window where at least in that window, there is a sense of relief. What we must remember is it's not utopian. Yoga does not work the same way for everyone, nor does it work the same way for the same person at different times. We have to factor in emotional needs. We have to factor in various other things. But how do we mitigate? Because one thing we must be very clear about, and this is Sir's approach, he says, never promise something you cannot do. But what you can do is understand, listen to them empathetically. And often he would tell us that there are all these tools, but the most powerful tool is you. You as a therapist, you hold that space. You are there to listen, because possibly that is one of the few spaces where a care seeker can speak without fear of judgment. And we've seen thousands upon thousands of cases. We have well over 150,000 cases that we have handled over the last 50 years. All kinds of problems. But when we map Panchamaya with the Heyam, Hetu, Hanam, Upayam model, on top of that, the Shraddha, the rapport that is built between the care seeker and the care provider, where they intersect, is in a space of care, of caring, of empathetic, unconditional, non-judgmental listening. This is our approach, and we work only one-on-one when it comes to yoga chains.
Wow, that was again another exposition that really gives this comprehensive perspective of yoga chikitsa. And for those of you who don't know, the Indian Yoga Association is conducting different programs for yoga chikitsa. And we have a cycle program, and soon in the near future, we'll have a full 2-hour session with Nrithya ji, because we want to definitely get this type of perspective to each and everyone who's working in yoga chikitsa, yoga as a therapy, and not just limited to one anga. And again, not one pill for one ill and one asana for one disease, which is where the modern science wants it to go. But I think tradition says, let us retain the authenticity of yoga chikitsa. Thank you so much for mentioning also the importance of that care, because people are seeking care and we are to provide care. And so we should be full of care, that we make sure that we are providing care for the care seeker as a care provider. And I think this is something that is the heart. And it is humanistic approach to Medicare or healthcare, that, as one of my friends recently said at Kaivaladama, it was Amritanshu Ram who said, health care has become a health scare. Health care has become a health scare. And so let's put the care back in health and the health back in healthcare. So, I'm just going to go over to a few short questions here over the next 10 minutes so that we don't shoot over time too much. But, Shailaja, you are out there in Malaysia. And I keep on saying across the sea, making it very distant, but you're on the screen with us, so we are all in the same place at the same time. What are the difficulties that, in that cultural context to share yoga?
Well, there's, yoga's become, I always say, hugely popular the world over, right? From the caves of the Himalayas, now it's on Times Square and everywhere else that you can think of. But it's really become all about, like an exercise, right? Like it's about stretching your body, it's about strengthening your body, it's about getting Instagrammable poses. And it's hugely popular here, I must say. We have, we have Chinese, we have Malay, we have Indian. It's a multicultural country, and they're all hugely into it. Like my teacher Manoj Kaimal, in his studio, it's like a 99%, I would say, a Chinese population there. So it's all hugely accepted, but it's just that it is more into the sport, right? Like it's more something that you do to exercise, like the gyms have yoga, but it's all about just it's an ego-based practice where the only focus is about getting your body to do these poses and then maybe put it up somewhere. So that, I think, is something that needs to be addressed. There needs to be more, and it's also, I think, more exciting, because even way back, Swami Sachidananda would say that asanas are the calling card. So I think always the body has a draw. And the thing is, we remain stuck in that, and we need to be able to appreciate the other angas of the yoga practice and make it a more holistic perspective to yoga. Then there's also, right, this is a Muslim country, so I'm not quite sure what the acceptance is of yoga in other cultures. So yeah, it's not the most open to yoga, but yeah, we survive.
I think this takes me over to Fharzana because, you know, is religion a barrier in yoga? Because this is a question that often comes up in discourse. Now, in my own personal practice and again at our ISCM or Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, we have never had an issue with it. But this is often brought up in political circles, it's brought up in meetings. So I would like to hear your thoughts on it, Fharzana.
So,
I think you also teach in Bangladesh. So
yes, I do.
yeah,
do.
you have a huge clientele there.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, very honestly, I have never found for me it to be a barrier of any sort. But then again, I credit myself with having an open heart and an open mind, right? So I don't think that, first of all, yoga is not a religion. And anybody who thinks that yoga is religion doesn't know yoga. So that is one. And secondly, I mean, if you just see it from a very Hindutva lens, is yoga that is a question I would like to ask, you know. But, and I'll talk about my one experience in Malaysia. 2014, I was representing India for a conference in complementary medicine. And I was presenting a paper there and I was talking about yoga. And we had a break in between when the press came and they asked me this question. And they said, being a Muslim, what do you think is the practice of yoga? So I said, I'm so glad that you have asked me this question because I am a practicing Muslim and I am a practicing yogini. And I don't see there's any clash anywhere with that. Because if you are a true yogi, you will know that all roads lead to that Brahman. And if you are going to go caught up on one road, then you really need to learn more of yoga. That's all I would say. So, you know, I have been very lucky. My family has supported me. My friends, nobody has ever questioned me because it's all about how you also represent yoga. How do you wear yoga on your sleeve? How do you carry yoga? How do you embody yoga? So I think it's all about that. And I'm proud to be both.
Beautiful. That's just such a beautiful answer. And, you know, this is something I always say, I'm proud to be a member of Indian Yoga Association. And also I'm proud to be a member of Indian Medical Association, which often are at loggerheads. And I think, you know, we can find how we can be a living bridge. I perceive you as a living bridge between these, what is perceived as dualities for others. You are a living bridge showing that they are all one. Thank you for that beautiful answer. Going over to Pallavi, if now, you know, you are to work with young girls and they say, should we take up yoga? What are the pros and cons? And what would be your suggestion to a young girl who wants to take up yoga and maybe grow into becoming a Padma Shri in yoga in the next 30 years? What would be your advice to her or the Prime Minister's Award for Yoga?
Wow.
Yes. Firstly, the yoga is an experience science. It's an Anubhuti Shastra. So when the small children or youth comes to me and they said like, I want to do career in yoga, please give a guideline or something. So nowadays, what is happening? Like they do 2-3 months course and they're becoming a yoga teacher, then started teaching, you know. So actually, this is not the way to learn to teach yoga. You know, this is the first step. You have to take it, but it is not like ultimate aim that after 2 months or after this course I will start teaching immediately. Because if you don't have an experience, right, how you can teach? So this is the first thing. So when the small kid or children comes to me, I started practice with asana, that is true. But slowly I convert them into a proper yogic practices. Ashtanga yoga, Hatha yoga. and Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So all these things I take in my school here, and then slowly they understand again the step by step. They understand the real value of yoga, and then they implement all this yogic aspect in their life, and they really get a proper education like bachelor's, master's, PhD in yoga, and then they really become a balance in their life. So all I always advise them, yoga is a very good and best opportunity for the girls. And if you come in a right hand, then only you can go long way, and you will really get a good experience, and you will really feel this human birth is for what. Okay, that answer you will get. So this is the ultimate aim, like why we are here. So the yoga gives the answer for that.
So beautiful, so beautiful. I was thinking, you talked about people going on to bachelor, master, PhD and all. I was just wondering, Anandhi, this is a question I often ask myself, can real yoga actually be shared in an academic setup?
It's paper needs in India.
Yes, this is, very fundamental question, and I'm offering undergraduate and postgraduate programs since COVID, since the last 5 years. I have some of my very senior students with me. I have Dr. Rahul Banerjee, who is a senior scientist at Saha Institute of Nuclear Sciences. I have with me Amurtha Banerjee, Dalia. I have with me Dr. Parthu Krishna Ghosh. These are all engineers, and these are all, well established in their own fields. And more than being, a student and a teacher with these people, I have heart to heart conversations with them. And there are multiple times, where I have myself questioned, am I doing justice by, putting yoga into academic framework? Now, having said that, as yoga sadhakas, as all of you, everyone out here, all the other ladies who have beautifully, analyzed the way you have experienced yoga. Now, for me, yoga, being having been born and brought up and being a Bengali from the land of Bengal, where I'm taking a little bit of extra time here, Guruji, but being from the land of Bengal, which has, given birth to so many enlightened spiritual leaders, starting from Ramakrishna Paramhans to Swami Vivekananda to Rishi Aurobindo to Rabindranath Tagore to the ISKCON movement, so on and so forth. This concept to start with, yoga, mind, body, medicine, yoga, therapy, chikitsa, was something very new to me when I went down south to study yoga, which is beautiful because today all of us, we are suffering. I myself went because I had diseases, which, modern medicine was not able to give me solutions other than, getting operated and stuff like that. I have a lot of respect for the way yoga is being perceived and put into academic framework. But more importantly, for me and for these students of mine, the buzzword is the hard problem of consciousness. How does a nerve impulse convert to a thought? What do we understand by sentience? What is this ability to experience, feelings, awareness, reasoning, logic? Where does it stem from? Because see, at the end of the day, it is the Vijnanamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha, as Nrithya ji very beautifully pointed out. As long as there is no change in that, according to me, yoga therapy cannot happen. Now, this putting into an academic framework may be a problem, but 2 years when we get for a master student, we are able to show the path that, okay, if Patanjali Yoga Sutra is what you love, if Bhagavad Gita is what you love, if Hatha Yoga is what you love, if research is your area of interest, or simply if Hatha Yoga practice of asana, pranayama, kriya, all these are your area of interest, okay, this is the light ahead. You choose your path and at least you know how to navigate. You will not get lost. And of course, there are gurus, and as you always say, that light, once it shines within your heart, all you need to do is spread that light everywhere.
Wow, that was beautiful, beautiful, and gives me a bit more confidence to take things forward in academics, because always we wonder about dry academics and what happens, because I often find that in music and dance, where people get a PhD in music and dance and cannot sing or dance. And I often wonder what happens because, as a musician, as a dancer, I always think about that. And speaking of dance, I would go over to Nrithya ji because, you have had the dance with Narendran ji, and you have had the yoga. I often, what happens in dance is that after the Arangetram, the kids disappear. And because Arangetram becomes the end all be all, but Arangetram is just the beginning. Now, for dancers, I know that you offer many yoga programs. Are there any pointers that you would like to share on yoga and dance?
Actually, this is a question that requires a very long answer.
I know we are at the end of this session. So for now, it's short one, and then we'll have a long
as short
answer.
as I can. I'll speak about how I've been working with the Natyarangam dance Karyashala that is being run by Narodan Sabha Trust, Natyarangam Trust. We do a year-on-year Karyashala at Tenangur, where we work with dancers who have completed their Arangetram, slightly older dancers. See, one thing that I must say is that dance is a performative art, no doubt. You are dancing for another. There is a difference there between dance and yoga, where yoga is not performance, but it is for oneself. It is for one's own. It's an intimate space that you do for yourself, by yourself. Dance by nature is performative, and it brings together multiple threads. There is the performance aspect within which you have Nrithya, you have the Abhinaya component, there is Sangeeta, there's Geetam, Vadyam, Tala, Laya, Shruti, everything comes together. Then there is the costuming, so you have Angika, Vachika, Aharya, and then of course the Satvika. There is another layer which is the audience. Now, how I think dancers need to approach, again, what has happened in my journey as a dancer, I feel that art must elevate. That is the purpose of all Lalita Kala, that I think Tirumular says it, that it is art that elevates us from a beast to human, from human to Rishi, and Rishi to higher. And this is why in the Taittiriya Upanishad, for instance, the Manushya Gandharva is positioned at 100 times the Ananda that the average human experiences. We as artists are capable of experiencing that and transmitting that, and that is the purpose of Sahridayatvam, that is the purpose of Rasotpatti. Now, sadly, that is missing. We are again in dance, we are looking at a very physical performance. We have exquisitely perfect dancers, but do you have dancers who can make you weep, who can make your hair stand on end? Sadly, there are some, but not enough. And therefore, how I would work with dancers, I would say, yes, there is a body component. What should we do to prepare? Some dancers are preparing, not enough. There has to be adequate preparation, pre-performance, pre-practice, adequate winding down, the clear Urvanga, Pradhananga, Uttaranga model where we prepare for what is next. We counter what has been done physically, because there is a Sharira Bhanga that is happening with any form of dance, which is naturally, you give a lot of yourself. But that apart, understanding the breath, we see from the Abhinava Bharati of Abhinava Gupta that the evocation of the Sattvika Bhava comes from an understanding of the Pancha Prana. It is the arousal of prana and the correct working of prana that allows for Sattvika. Sattvika is not just emoting, it is that spontaneous outburst that happens naturally, for which you have to elevate to a different level. Therefore, working with pranayama. But a third tier to that is that typically we are working with text, we are working with lyric, or we are working with some kind of a sanchari. We are building a story within a musical format. If there is a text, it has been written with a certain vision by the composer. The dancer need not share that vision, but at least we have to think about it. What would have been the state of mind in which that composer created that? To reflect on it, to meditate on it, to understand the purpose of that lyric, the depth of that lyric, to internalize to feel it within and then to bring it out. But that is not enough. Then it has to evoke rasa in the rasika. And in that moment where the art, the dancer, the nartaki, and the rasika, they come together, then art is transcended. That is, what you're seeing there is no longer that performer, but you see art in its purest sense as a sadhana and as one of the most sublime offerings to the Supreme. And it is in such kind of performance that we have greats like whether it's a Chitraka or a Padmaka or all of these great people or a Vaijayantimala madam, all of these people, remarkable, Birju Maharaj, Kelucharan Mohapatra, all it would take was just a glance and the audience could be moved to tears if you saw a Birju Maharaj or a Kelucharan dance. Sadly, I think we need to scale up to that level because for us, dance remains at performance level. We need to elevate dance to sadhana. If it is so, then we will transform. We will transform ourselves and we have the means of transforming others who come into contact with that.
Wow, 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 wow. You know, listening to you, Nrithya, is very much something I have enjoyed today because what you have shared on yoga and dance and the importance of Natya as a sadhana and having basically an experience of a samadhija, a type of experience through Natya, is something that Ammaji has always inculcated in us from the beginning at Yoganjali Natyalayam and Kamli Swami Madam. That dance is not something you put on stage to just perform, but it is something to elevate consciousness. And it's so beautiful to hear you share that because it really is what we need today. We need more of these concepts to come into the arts. Otherwise, they are not elevated, they are just mundane. And if they are mundane, as I say with yoga also, if it's just going to be the mundane, you better go and do something else. And so, you know, transcend the mundane. Beautiful, beautiful to hear you resonate so much with what Ammaji has always stood for and what we continue to strive for. So as we are coming to the end of today's session, I would just like to ask all the 5 of my beloved Yoga Shaktis who are here today, you are all just amazing. I am basking in your light today. To say just a few words of what would be your take-home message for people who are with us live or who watch the recording later. So maybe starting with Shailaja.
I think just do yoga. Because, I mean, the sense of the practice, right? We can talk a lot, we can, discuss it, we can philosophize it, but ultimately yoga is experiential. And that is the greatness of yoga practice, right? We can talk a lot about philosophy, but the beauty of yoga is you can taste it, right? You can taste Thiram, you can taste Sukham, you can taste these words of inner joy, peace, you can taste transcendence even, right? So you have to do the practice.
Thank you for that. Anandhi?
So, what I would like to share with everyone is don't bother about anything. Just close your eyes, sit calmly, sit quietly, and try to listen to that inner voice. Each one of us has been designed by the universe very, very beautifully, and we are all very, very, very good at heart. What we portray to the external world is a reaction to how the world treats us. Make that secondary, push that, just tune in to that inner voice, and we are yogis, just, as we were discussing yesterday, chisel out all those unnecessary parts of that which you are not and be authentically you. And that will be yoga for each one. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Pallavi, over to you.
Yeah, yoga is a samatva, is balance between physical, mental, emotional, social, intellectual, and spiritual. So these 6 aspects of personality always balance, and it comes through yoga only. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fharzana?
Dr. Ananda, I would think that one message which I have for people who are interested in yoga, let's not try to fast forward this whole experience. Give some time, because that's how we are going to be molded. Because people are looking for 2-month course, 3 months course, 6 months course, and they're trying to become yogis, and these are those crash course yogis. Because if you don't allow yoga to work on you and to change you slowly, it's like you're being molded, and allow that process, because what is going to come out is going to be far beyond your expectation. So allow that process. Do not try to fast forward it. Do not try to copy others. Don't look at Instagram poses and think that, okay, I also have to do this pose. You just become immersed in yoga and leave everything else to yoga. Yoga will do its job.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And Nrithya ji,
What I would like to place here as my vision is that we need to return to our roots. And this is the commitment that I have made, because I believe that a resurgence is the time of the hour, is the need of the hour. And Bharatiya Samskriti, the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, has abundance if we only look for it. Sadly, we are isolating yoga. We are taking it out of the larger ocean of Bharatiya Samskriti. Even further, what is happening is that yoga is equal to asana, meditation is taken out of this fold, and therefore it is associated with other practices. This is a problem. We'll have to look at it as a connected tapestry, and there has to be a sense of interweaving. Yoga is life. Yoga is art. Every breath we take is yoga. The relationships we create is yoga. And therefore, this is my vision for the future. This is what I hope to offer myself in service as a yajna. That this resurgence, somewhere a passion to understand the truth, understand the depth of our tradition, because we have come from the Brihat, we are Anus. We need to find our way back. And for that, we need to be anchored in tradition. This is very important. We have to be keepers of memory as we seek to look ahead. And without this, I think yoga will fail in its purpose. And today being Savitri November, if you would permit me, I'd just like to share one quote from Aurobindo's Savitri. It's just one small excerpt. If I could just share my reading.
You should be able to share the screen.
Fine. In her, the conscious will took human shape. She only can save herself and save the world. Even though all falters and falls and sees an end, and the heart fails, and only are death and night. God-given her strength can battle against doom. Think not to intercede with the hidden will. Intrude not twixt her spirit and its force, but leave her to her mighty self and fate. This is Sri Aurobindo on Savitri. Savitri remains as one of the greatest icons for her intelligence, for her capacity to dialogue with death. It was not an ordinary conversation. She stood her ground. She used her intelligence. She secured the boons that she wanted. And we say Tamil, Vidiyai Madiyal Vella Mudiyum Abdina, adukku Savitri da. She is an example, an exemplar. We tend to dismiss tradition and we say, oh, this is just a ritual, yellow thread. It's not about the yellow thread. It is about the muhurta. It is about Savitri making use of that muhurta very intelligently. She anticipates, she prepares for it, she watches for the arrival of Yama. When he comes, she does not let him go until she receives her boon. And there lies the strength of the Sampradaya, of the Shastras, of the Rishi Paramparas, of the Jnana Paramparas. And we would be failing if we didn't give, if we didn't look back, if we didn't receive from them, if we didn't fill our vessels with that abundance and then share it out with the world. And this is what I would like to leave with you as a vision for myself. This is the path that I hope to continue. And I think this should be the vision of every one of us who's in this domain of Indian knowledge systems, specifically.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful sharing, and thank you for sharing about Savitri, because being the Savitri Nongu, I think this is so apt that this is brought into our consciousness. We have a beautiful message from Subbu Bhaiya, who has written in the chat, Shailaja, whose mother Parvati, sang a Pallavi, so that is our Pallavi ji, performed Nrithyam, which is Nrithya ji, with Fharzana intelligence and experienced Anandhi. And after a small gap, he kept a gap between all of you and me. And that was yoga, which is Ananda. Thank you, Subbu Bhaiya, for putting that beautiful comment that brings the whole aspect together. And before we end this amazing session, I am so happy I had this seed in my contemplative morning sitting a few days ago, and that all these 5 amazing Shaktis accepted my invitation without a single note of hesitation. I think that is something that really gladdens my heart. And I would like to just share a very special image, which, as all of you know, I enjoy my work with Canva, creating images. And I think this will be an image that will be very special for me. I hope you can all see it. And I would like to personally also acknowledge each one of them. I'll be sending them this separately by email. But in the Yoga Shakti Sangamam, that honoring them as a Yoga Shakti, so honoring Yoga Shakti Nrithya Jagannathan, Yoga Shakti Pallavi Kavhane, Yoga Shakti Shailaja Menon, Yoga Shakti Fharzana Siraj, and Yoga Shakti Anandhi. I just wanted to share this. I hope you could all see what I had put some time into on Canva. I'll be sending it to each one of them and hope that every one of our participants who have been live have enjoyed. Those who will listen will enjoy. And thanking our mother yoga for her blessings. For me, yoga is my divine mother, and to be true to her is so important. To love her, respect her, and when needed, stand up for her is so essential for all of us. I would like to thank each and every one of you for being with us tonight and spending your time, your energy, coming together in this Sangama, which has truly been a Shakti Sangama, a Yoga Shakti Sangama. Closing with a prayer, a Prarthana. Prarthana and prayer are not the same, but still. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, Sarve Janah Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Dhanyavad. Thank you. Nandri, Vanakkam. And we'll be sharing the recording very soon with all of you. Before we conclude, I believe another Yoga Shakti, our Devasena ji, wants to say a word of appreciation. Yes.
Shakti wants to thank. Thank you very much, sir. Very nice, sir. Thank you all the Shaktis. Very nice.
Thank you so much. Very nice section, but I just joined only in the end after the yoga and dance class. Anyway, I will just sing one line for all the 5 Pancha Mahashaktigal. Pancha Mahadevi Nam Vanagiduvom Vari Pancha Malaina Vanagidu Om Shakti Parashakti Durga Lakshmi Saraswati. But now we have Pancha Mahadevigal. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Devasena ji. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, I welcome you all to join us at the Yoga Shakti Sangama at Bangalore on April 5th. Again, April 5th. So 5th, 5 stars. So all of us are expected to come there. So it's going to be at Vyasa, Prashanti Kudiram. This year is the 50th year of Prashanti Kudiram also. So it'll be nice to have you all there. So please do come. Last year we had Devasena ji, Nrithya ji. This year also they will all be there. Once again, it's open for all. Yeah, it's not only for women. There is a Shakti in all of us, right? So all of us all are welcome. Okay.
Thank you so much, Subbu Bhaiya. Thank you everyone for being part of this. I am ending the meeting now, but this ending is just the beginning of many more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anandaji.
जय आद्याशक्ति मा जय आद्याशक्ति अखंड ब्रह्मांड दीपाव्या अखंड ब्रह्मांड दीपाव्या पडवे प्रगट्या मा नृत्या बे स्वरूप शिव